What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a test hand combo video for the Memento Dogmatika profile I showed you all the other day. You seem to be enjoying the Memento combo, as am I, so I am more than happy to keep bringing you more content like this that I thought would be helpful to kind of give you a breakdown of what the deck does and how it does it. If you want to see a dedicated combo video for the deck specifically, then make sure you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I will be more than happy to bring that for you. So with all of that out of the way, after a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, we do our first test hand going first, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we've got a starter, and technically we have a bit of an extender off of the back of the field spell. However, should our opponent stop our witch in the form of something like an imperm and a veiler, we then need to make sure that something like Ash and Punishment is going to be enough to protect us during the next turn. So we'll start off by activating the field spell. So remember with this one, what it gives you the ability for is that if a Memento is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one of your monsters, special summon one Memento monster with a lower level from the hand or graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. And then during the end phase, you get to target a Memento, spell a trap in the graveyard and reset it. So you're pretty much going to be able to trigger off the back of the Anger Witch if you want to, but keep in mind you need one in your hand or graveyard. So you're going to use Anger Witch's effect. You're going to use the ability that if it's normal special, you get to add a Memento monster from the deck to the hand. Now, obviously, if your opponent ashes you, yes, that sucks. But you then have to hold back and use Ash and Punishment in its respective usage. So you're going to go for the Tatsu just so you make sure you've got your monster that you're going to need. You're going to use Tatsu and then you're going to tribute it off or destroy it using its own effect. And this will then allow you to send from the deck to the graveyard monsters that equal or less than its level. Now you can trigger the Memento as well because the Memento is a if effect. So on a new chain, as you resolve the Tatsu, on a new chain the Memento will trigger to bring back one from the graveyard, which is really important because that's how you can get to something like Goblin if you want it. You can get a second Witch, not that you want it right now this minute, or of course you can get to Mace without needing to use Witch's effect, which is really kind of cool. So in doing so, you can then use the Field Spell's effect, and this will then allow you to target one of those monsters. So you're going to target, let's go with Mace on this one. Just give us our trap card. One of those monsters and special summon a monster with a different level. So you target the one that was destroyed, so your Tatsu, and you bring back the Mace, which is a level 1. Then you've got the ability of Mace during the main phase. If you control Memento, the big boss, which you don't at the moment, which you will do, you get to discard this card and then target a face on monster your opponent cards and take control of it. What you can do is during the main phase, you destroy one Memento monster you control, and if you do, add a Memento card from the deck to the hand. So we're going to destroy Mace, and this will then give us the ability to get into our trap card. So we're going to go for our Cranium Burst. So we're going to set up our 5 negates. You're then going to use the ability of Anger Witch. So you're going to destroy a Memento monster you control, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster. Now you could, in theory, with Mace go for Darkblade because you haven't even normal summoned yet, but ultimately just by destroying the Anger Witch, you're going to bring back the Goblin. And then you'll use Goblin's effect to destroy itself, and this will then allow it to foolish the remaining 2 cards you need for names. So it can be Darkblade, it can be Horned Dragon, it's entirely up to you. But you definitely need to make sure you're going to put the Combined Creation to the graveyard. You'll then use Combined Creation's summon ability, so putting 5 back with different names. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, leaving 1 Witch in the graveyard. So all of these are going to go back to your deck. I'm going to shuffle up. And then you still have a very nice fallback because you're going to set your Cranium Burst, which is going to give you 5 negates. You're going to set your Punishment, which again is not that much of an issue. And then of course you've got an Ash Blossom to fall back on. You're going to pass your opponent's turn. The second they activate a effect, you then get the ability of your Combined Creation to bring back the Witch. Witch's effect will then trigger, and this will allow you to get Mace. And because you control the Combined Creation, you'll then have the ability to steal one of your opponent's monsters. So very, very important. And in keep in mind as well, while you control a Memento monster, your opponent monsters that can attack must attack the Memento monsters you control with the highest attack. Their choice if tied. And then when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, except during the damage state and target a Memento Combined Creation you control, it loses exactly 1,000 attack and defense. And if it does, negate the activated effect. You can only activate this effect once per chain. So you're going to be weakening your Combined Creation, But what you are going to be able to do, and I'll show you this in a minute, is how you're going to follow up for the next turn. So eventually what you'll end up doing is you'll use Mace to snatch steal one of your opponent's monsters. That just means that they've got one less form of interruption. Let's say you use Cranium Burst 2 times, maybe 3 times. Keep in mind that if any of these get destroyed, you'll then get the ability to bring back Mace as well. In the scenario, the monster now goes back to our opponent. Let's say we used an Ash Blossom as well. We'll just blow ourselves out of the extra deck. Obviously, in this ideal scenario, you don't really want to, because you want to be able to link off the combined creation so you can bring it back so that it regains its attack. Because the loss of the 1000 attack isn't until the end phase, which is a bit sad, but it is what it is. But it's entirely up to you if you use punishment. Keeping in mind that you've got 5 negates here, you've got 2 destructions off the back of this, you've got an Ash negate, and you've got a Mace snatch steal. So that's very difficult for your opponent to try and play through. We're going to bring it back to our turn, so we're just going to shuffle up because I put the 5 cards to the bottom when we shuffled in. We're just going to draw a random card. Okay, Prosperity. I'm not going to use Prosperity right now if I feel that I can get the OTK on board. So what you do have the ability for is you do have the ability of the Anger Witch, if you want to destroy the combined creation, put it into the graveyard, and letting you bring back the Mace. You can then use Mace's effect to destroy itself and search you out your Darkblade, and then you're just going to go again. Now, keep in mind, because the combined creation is in the graveyard, all you really want to now do is just set yourself up to get the remaining monsters in the grave. So you'll normal the Darkblade, you can use Darkblade's effect to destroy itself. Heck, you could even destroy the Witch if you wanted to, because technically the Witch has already used its grave effect. So by destroying the blade, you summon out another Witch. This Witch's effect will go off to let you search. You're going to search out the Tatsu again. You're going to special summon down the Tatsu. You've currently got 2 monsters in the graveyard, so all you need to do here is get the remaining 3 in the graveyard. So can we do that? We can get a Witch and a Goblin, and then we would need to get rid of one of these, which isn't that much of an issue. So we use Tatsu's effect to destroy itself. We will send a Goblin and we'll send a Witch. There we go. To the graveyard. And then what you want to do here is you'll want to be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of different names. All back into the deck. Summon back Combined Creation. Boom. Combined Creation is now reset to 5k. Just double check. I believe it is this effect. So while you control no other monsters, it gets to attack all of your opponent's monsters once each. So up to you if you feel you need that. Honestly, I don't think we do. You can very easily link these 2 off if you want to and go into something like SP Little Knight. It is a spellcaster, so technically if you wanted to get that aggressive and there was like 3 spells in the graveyard, you could go a little bit further. You could have also, when you did the last destruction of the Tatsu, is you could have used the Field Spells effect, and that would have allowed you to bring back the Goblin, and then Goblin contribute itself off or destroy itself to put more in the grave, or you just link all of these off. Go into a Selene, Selene can climb into access code, and then you would be pushing even further from that point on. So there's loads of different options that you have, as long as you don't lock yourself out of the extra deck. If you do lock yourself out of the extra deck, it's still not a bad position to be in, because in that case, you'd probably tribute off a Witch rather than the Tatsu, and then the Tatsu would just make you send like Goblin instead. But you do have loads of kind of different options here. As long as you get that monster that you bring back off the field spell back to the graveyard, it then means you can bring out the Combined Creation. You still have the Ash to fall back on. Even if this is not game, you can still activate Prosperity. You can still dig for the top 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So dig for the top 6. You can take Bone Party. Heck, Maximus is pretty cool if you can get a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard. You got Mace there you can add back and everything you need. So it does have nice recursion as well, because it does invest. Even though it burns through a lot through the deck by tributing them off or destroying them, it doesn't actually burn through a lot of resource. Like, you can maintain your back row or front row as much as you need to, depending on the environment you're in, which is what makes the deck really kind of cool. It's obviously going to be a lot more difficult going second, and that's where you need to get into your droplets, your talents, your Book of Eclipses, everything else like that, in order to kind of switch off the board so that you can then build your towers monster, or basically main deck boss monster. So we'll do another test down going first, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How does this love the hand? What the heck's going on? Well, the Schism more so, and the Punishment. Either way, so these 2 are like null and void going first at this exact moment in time. Like, the Schism is like 100% brick. Like, you hate it. It's a one-of, and you're not seeing your Punishment, your Dogmatika Maximus, your Nadir's Servant to get you everything you need to. That being said, we'll normal summon the Anger Witch. We'll use the Witch's effect. Now, you've got to be a little bit careful here because you can add a follow-up for the next turn, which is your Dark Blade. But you can also search out the Mace, just so you've got it early doors. The only issue with that is you kind of want to discard it or get it to the graveyard off of the back of the Tatsu, just to kind of complete the maximum amount of levels in the graveyard. So with that being said, let's go for... I think the best way of going for this... None of them are like that great of extensions, really. I mean, I could summon out the Horned Dragon. Let's do it this way. So rather than Goblin send it, let's do it a little bit differently. Now, obviously, if you don't have Tatsu, you search out Tatsu. It's pretty straightforward on that one. We're going to special summon down the Tatsu. You can use Tatsu's effect, tribute itself off, or destroy it. Apologies. I keep saying tributing. I'm just so used to that's how these effects work. Send Goblin, send Witch, and send Mace. So that's your levels of 5. You can now use Witch's effect if you feel you need to get the next monster into the graveyard. But to be completely honest, because we've already sent one, the only one you need to get to is the big boss guy. So you can special summon down the Horned Dragon. You can then use your Witch's effect to destroy the Horned Dragon? Yeah, let's destroy the Horned Dragon to bring back the Goblin. Now, you kind of need to use Goblin's effect. Let me just double check. Just needs to be a Memento. So on this scenario, I don't want to destroy the Goblin because I want to get a monster on the extra deck, from the extra deck onto the board. How am I able to do that is the big question. So if we destroy the Witch, you just send 2 anyway. So I would send Dark Blade and Combine Creation, because you've got your boss monster ready to go. The only issue is I really want to get the monster that I turn Goblin into off the board, which is probably where you need another monster to do that, because you obviously what you'd want to do is you want to turn Goblin into like Linkrish Anima or Linkaribo or whatever, and then you kind of want to get it into the graveyard so you can set up your Maximus play, and then you're like golden, good to roll. So maybe do you sacrifice your Combined Creation? Use Combined Creation's effect, put back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave a Witch in the graveyard. I mean, like, in this scenario, what you're basically ending your board with is a punishment, and then this is like a Linkaribo, and then a Combined Creation. It's not that great, if you ask me. I think what you'd be better off doing is then linking these two together, going into a Link 2, which can now be SP Little Knight, which if you go in second, you can banish a card. So it's going to SP Little Knight. And then you can use Maximus to banish the Relinquish, to summon itself down. You can then use Maximus's effect to send 2 from the extra deck. So I'm going to send... where are you? Let's send Garura. And let's send... I wouldn't send App Clone, to be honest. I would send Construct. I mean, I suppose if you don't send App Clone, you kind of telegraph that you haven't got the card you need anyway. Garura's effect will go off to let you draw a card. Hey, that's pretty good. And then what you've done here is you've set up the ability of Schism. So during your opponent's turn, what will end up happening is you can activate Schism's effect, banish the Construct as your Shadow monster, and then you can banish a Dark, be it either a Witch or the Garura, which is probably your safest option. That will then allow you to special summon out Winder, wherever it may be. There we go. And now you've Winder locked your opponent. So they've got to deal with Winder. They've got to deal with an SP Little Knight, which could technically banish Winder if you wanted to, or Maximus or itself. You would then use the ability of Ash as well to negate a card, and you've got Punishment. So let's say we lock ourselves out of the extra deck completely. Now the only issue with locking yourself out of the extra deck completely in this scenario, or technically giving yourself, is the fact that you can't really go anywhere. And what I mean by that is, when you draw for turn, hey, that's pretty good. Obviously, SP Little Knight would come back. With this scenario as this currently stands, you've got no way, like you can only special summon once. So what you would do here is you would use the ability of Maximus to send 2. Now, because we don't have a Garura, we've already gone through our target. Like the best thing you can do is send like App Cologne, or you could send Ferrigy, and that would allow you to do. So let's say we sent Ferrigy, we draw a card. Oh, hello. Draw a card, put a card back. Well, Bone Party can go straight away. I guess we're then going to Dear Servant. The Dear Servant would then send one from the extra deck again. You'd search out. Entirely up to you whether you want to go for Ecclesia or not. Technically, I could normal summon Ecclesia, use her effect to search out Fleur Delis. There we go. Special summon down Fleur Delis. Negate a monster on the board if there is any. And then that's our one special summon. You then go to battle phase. Declare an attack with Fleur Delis. This gains up to 3k, 2k, 2k. Winder cannot attack directly, but it can still attack. And then you've got 2, 4, 5, 6, plus whatever leftover damage these two have done. Past your opponent. Now, obviously, this is nowhere near as defensive. All you've got right now is a Winder to negate, a Ecclesia that can't be destroyed by a monster from the extra deck, and then an SP Little Knight that can then banish and banish. But you would have ideally liked to have controlled your opponent enough during the previous turn. So I know that wasn't like ideal, there was a lot of situationals in there, but this can kind of show you what the Dogmatika engine can do on its own. And like I said, you don't, in that scenario, we didn't want to see Schism, and I kind of went down the route of sacrificing my Memento plays to maximise my Dogmatika plays. But again, we saw a 1-of in Maximus, a 1-of in Punishment, and a 1-of in Schism, as opposed to seeing a 3-of in the Deer. So it is what it is. We'll shuffle up. I'll now show you what the additional card does and how you can kind of maximise your ability of trying to be as aggressive as possible. So shuffle up and cut up, starting with 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can naturally assume that an Ash was used during the previous turn, and then 6. Wow, this is a pretty good hand. Obviously, a Droll would hurt like mad because a Droll would shut off Terraforming, it would shut off Nadir, and then you'd either get Prosperity or you'd get Nadir. In this scenario, I've actually got everything I need to be honest. So I would personally start with Pot, but if you want a deck thin, you'd go with Terraforming, just to deck thin if you're not worried about Droll. If you're worried about Droll, Pot would be the first one that I would personally play. So we'll start off with Terraforming just to deck thin, search out the field spell. If you're worried about Droll and you don't play Terraforming because you play free field spell, then again, same exact outcome. But if you can save the Prosperity as well, it means you don't have to do half damage, which is also quite important. So we'll activate the field spell, we'll then normal summon down the Dark Blade. We'll use Dark Blade's effect. If you wanted to, you need a Memento card to discard to pop a back row, but you're going to use this main phase effect to destroy itself, and we're just going to go through the 1-card combo of going into Witch. Witch effect, searches you out Tatsu, special Tatsu. Tatsu's effect, destroy itself, send Goblin, Witch, and Mace. You can then use the effect of the field spell should you want to. Target the Tatsu, summon back one of a different name. So you can either skip a step and bring back Mace. Mace will then give you Bone Party or the Trap card. Bone Party is actually quite helpful if your opponent's in normal defense, because then Bone Party will give you the ability to do piercing damage. Or you can just go for your aggressor and bring back the Dark Blade. Up to you. Let's go with Mace. We'll then use Mace's effect to destroy herself, and this will then allow you to add... I mean, Bone Party still needs you to destroy a Memento face up or in the hand. So it's, again, not ideal, because you're still going to be floating everything. Still want to get it to the graveyard. Is that a big thing? Is that a hard thing to do? I don't suppose it makes much of a difference, really. So, Anger Witch can use this effect to destroy a Memento monster you control, bring back Goblin. I'll tell you what, let's just go aggressive. What the heck? What the heck am I doing? Don't add Bone Party. Like, yeah, alright, you'll need Bone Party if your opponent's being very defensive, but you need to get it to the board. We'll add Horn Dragon. Special summon down Horn Dragon, use Goblin's effect, tribute itself off, destroy itself, sorry. Duh. Send Combined Creation and send... I mean, if you don't feel you're going to OTK this turn, I'd send Cranium Burst, because you'll be able to set that again with a field spell. And then send 5 back. So the 5 you're going to want to send back will be Goblin 1, Witch 2, Mace 3, 4 will be Blade, 5 will be Tatsu. So they will go back into the main deck. So at the moment you've got 7,850 on board. You can then use Nadir's Servant. If you feel you need to go for the Shaddoll, go for the Shaddoll, but because you're going again, you're going aggressive, I would send Elder Entity Ints. Ints will then let you pop a card. Technically, you could activate Nadir so early on. If you are fearful of a card on the board, you can activate Nadir very early because you're not going to go into the extra deck this turn. And that would really give you a way to kind of pick at your opponent's board quite nicely. Send a Tis. If you want draws, you can go for Maximus. If you want board presence, probably go for Fleur Delis if your opponent's got a monster from the extra deck. Actually, no, if there's a monster from the extra deck on the field, you just go for Ecclesia. So you'd get Ecclesia, special summon down Ecclesia. Ecclesia's effect will search out Maximus, Fleur Delis. You'd special summon down Fleur Delis, and that's your game there. Without even needing to use Prosperity, because you'd go Battle Phase, Combined Creation would attack for 5k, 2850, 3000, and then 2000. And then if that's not game, you still have the ability of the end phase. The field spell will set your Cranium Burst. You could activate Prosperity, go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Punishment, take the punishment. And yeah, kind of go from there. So during the next turn, if you haven't OTK'd this turn, your opponent has to deal with 5 negates, monster negates. They would then have to attack the Horned Dragon once you've used like 3 of your negates on the Combined Creation. Punishment would still be active. And then they still have to play for an Ash Blossom as well. So you've still got a decent bit of aggressive board presence after that point. And that was only if you decided to be aggressive off the back end of this. So you have the best of everything. So we'll shuffle up. We'll do a final test hand going second, just to get, again, kind of highlight what the deck does now. The Mementos, like I said, are very linear. They do exactly what they say on the tin. It's just different ways of getting to the Combined Creation. If you are facing this deck, evidently, one of the only Mementos, like if you don't want to stop them early doors because you fear they might have extenders or go further, the only Memento you 100% want to stop is the Goblin, because then they can't get access to Combined Creation. There you go. That's a little cheat sheet for this deck. Okay, so there's our 5. Really? Like, what the hell? 6. Okay, so I definitely don't need to use Terraforming. If I feel that I need to deck Finn, then you'd activate Terraforming, but I don't think we need to. We'll activate the field spell. I don't want to use Prosperity just to make sure that I've got maximum damage on the board for now. We would normal the Anger Witch. We'd use Witch's effect to search. Now she's obviously going to search your standard go-to, and that is going to be your Tatsu. Now if you get drolled here, it's not the end of the world. You still have ways to play, because you'd still special summon down Tatsu, still use Tatsu's effect to destroy itself and send in the correct levels. So you go for a Witch, you go for a Mace, and you go for Goblin. So there's your 5. Boom. Then use Field Spell's effect to bring one of them back. Now, obviously, if you're under Droll, there's no point in bringing back Mace. You can't add anything. If you're not under Droll, then you just go for Goblin. This will give you the final 2 monsters that you need to get your big boy on the board. Because then what you'll have the ability to do, and you haven't even used Anger Witch's effect yet, is use Goblin's effect, tribute it off, put 2 to the graveyard. So let's put Combined Creation, and let's put kind of want to bring back Mace. Let's put Combined Creation and Darkblade into the graveyard, because now if we're not under Droll, you can use Witch to tribute itself off to bring back Mace. If you are under Droll, it doesn't matter. All 5 of those would still go back. You'd still get the Combined Creation. But the reason you tribute off to get Mace is Mace can then tribute itself off, destroy itself. Damn it. This would then give you access to the Trihorn Dragon. Special summon down Trihorn because you've got 3 or more with different names in the graveyard. If this card is on the field destroyed by card effect, target 3 face-up cards on the field, including Memento cards you control, and destroy them. No, you're going to need to do that. And then you're going to put 5 back, so you put back Mace, Witch, Blade, Goblin, and Tatsu. Go back into Combined Creation. Now, if you want to, of course, if you want to pop those cards, then you can Bone Party it. but then you would need to destroy the combined creation. So again, that's not something you want to be doing. No, is it an if effect? Yeah, I mean, technically you could destroy what you summon off a Bone Party, but I don't think there's anything we would want to summon that's got like an on-summon effect that would do anything for us. The only good thing about this is technically is you could Bone Party during the battle phase. So you go to the battle phase, you would attack with Tri-Horn, attack with Combined Creation, activate Bone Party is the quick effect to destroy the Tri-Horn, to add you a Memento. So you can add any Memento that you want. Let's go for Darkblade. And then you could then activate your Horn Dragon. It's a shame they've got to be face up, but I'm pretty sure you can destroy the field spell, right? Yeah, it's just a card you control. So destroy the field spell. Startblade would be put in defense. You then pop 2 cards, and if you had an attack with creation, you would attack with creation. There you go. That's what I probably should have done. Well, main phase 2 we can follow up, really. So main phase 2 again, if you have an OTK, which I don't think you would do at this point, you can activate Prosperity. We'll go for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, definitely taking the Dear Servant. 100% O on that one. Activating the Dear Servant, and then you'd pretty much just go for Window Lock. So I'll do this slowly so that everyone can see how the Window Lock works. App Clone to the graveyard. You've already got Maximus. You can add Ecclesia if you want to. I'm going to activate, because I can't guarantee there's a monster from the extra deck on the board, I'm going to go for Flare Delis. App Clone's effect will then go off, add Schism, discard a card, goodbye Terraforming. Just means I don't have to send Construct now. Then special and down Maximus by banishing App Clone. I still need to send Construct. Use Maximus's effect. There's no point in sending a card to draw, so send Construct just so you've got a Shadow monster in the graveyard, and then send one of anything, really. We can't draw because we've just used Prosperity. You could use Natis if you want to pop another card your opponent controls and just put them at more of a disadvantage. You do need to make sure there is a Dark in the graveyard, which there is in Witch and Tri-Horn. So you'll set the Schism, you'll pass your opponent. During your opponent's turn, you'd activate Schism, you'd banish Construct as your Shadow, banish Tri-Horn as your Dark. This would then allow you to go into Winder and Window Lock your opponent. Now at this point, what you'd probably want to do is you'd probably want to make sure that Fleur comes down before you Winder, or in chain to Schism, because then what you do is you put Winder into the extra monster zone, and then your only special summon of the turn, or your first special summon of the turn, after Winder's been hit on the board, would be to bring back the Witch, and then Witch would give you a follow-up. Now obviously with this board you're completely false, there's no point in taking Mace, but you would go for a Darkblade, and that would mean you'd have the follow-up for the next turn as well. And that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, next turn, if your opponent can't break this board, you just, boo, that's OTK. So you do kind of get the best of everything you need to. And the Dogmatikas just add that little bit extra of aggression. The only difficult thing is that you rely so much on either punishment the turn before, putting a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard, or you rely on the Deer quite a bit. So it's something I'll need to look into if there's other ways. I know someone suggested to me playing Duality, which is really kind of cool because it gives you access to Dragoon. But the thing for that is, if I wanted to use it, I'd want to make sure that I had a target for the Witch and for the Darkblade, as they're the 2 best starters that you have, and you want to make sure that you can Duality tag them out in order to at least get something to the board should your opponent try and hand trap them in one way or another. Anyway, I hope this has given you a couple of insights into the way the deck works. Like I said, it's very basic, very linear. Like your starters are your Anger Witch and your Darkblade. Your end board is ideally your Creation, and then off of the back of the Dogmatikas, you want to be going for the Shadow Lock. Going second, it's Natis off of the Shadows, the Dogmatikas, and then get into your Combined Creation for your aggressive kind of push on the board. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.